The Spurs haven't lost back-to-back games since January. Victor Wembanyama went for a triple-double in Game 1, lost by 2. Bang the drum back in San Antonio. Less than 2 minutes into the game, Julian Champagnie, no. Wembanyama, yes. Spurs outscored the Timberwolves 58-36 in the paint, and they also outscored them from beyond the arc. Spurs 16 of 39 from 3, Timberwolves 9 of 30, Wembanyama 19 and 15. Late second, Devin Vassell, no. Dylan Harper soaring in. Spurs closed the first half on a 15-3 run, up 24 at the break. Game's over at halftime. Early third, Champagnie underneath, kicked out to Vassell. And how about this? Buries the corner tray, a 2K glitch in real life. Another look, catches midair, fires, and connects as the shot clock expires. That was awesome. I don't know that I've ever seen that in real life. I've seen it on the video game, but we see it in real life here. Also in real life, Champagnie, he missed the game winner in Game 3. He was 4 of 6 from 3 here in Game 2. Spurs win big by 38, 133-95. They led by as many as 47. It's San Antonio's 10th straight win following a loss, and it's their most points in a playoff game since 1983. Steph Castle goes for 21, De'Aaron Fox 16. All 5 starters in double figures, led by Victor Wembanyama's double-double, 19 and 15. Steph Castle with the 21. And they bounce back in a big way, again, as they win by 38. Game 3 Friday as the series moves to Minnesota. Get some instant analysis. Welcome in former NBA Coach of the Year Avery Johnson and CBS Sports HQ NBA analyst John Gonzalez. Spurs were a bit rusty in Game 1 here in Game 2. It was over at halftime, up by 24. Avery, what did you see from the Spurs in this one?
Starting with Victor Wembanyama. You know, he was fooling around. He was 0 for 8 from the three-point line in Game 1, or didn't shoot the ball well, but this team points in the paint, 58 points in the paint. Defensively, they were terrific. I thought De'Aaron Fox took better care of the ball. I like Keldon Johnson, 9 points, 10 rebounds off the bench. I thought he was physical. I thought they did a good job overall with Julius Randle. Their bench played extremely well. So I thought this was a great team effort. But, okay, here's the breaking news that everybody heard about earlier today. Yesterday, my former coach, Greg Popovich, was the special guest in the film session at practice yesterday. And he basically led that film session. Even in his health situation, the players responded. I guess he gave them some serious pointers, even though it didn't last long. And they came out and played like a team on a mission. So, again, Mitch Johnson has done an incredible job. Greg Popovich, I guess, comes out of semi-retirement to participate in that film session yesterday to point out some details because he's coached in a tremendous amount of these playoff games. I was there with him from the beginning. I guess I was like the associate head coach when he was the head coach, and it paid dividends for them tonight.
You nailed it, Avery. I mean, you said that they were on a mission. They were absolutely on a mission. Game 1, they lose by 2. Tonight, they win by 38. They were up as many as 47. I mean, where didn't they win tonight, right? They won the turnover battle, the glass, points in the paint, fast break, all 5 starters in double figures. Wemby's shot diet was better. He got some shots to fall. Couldn't hit anything in Game 1 tonight. He was much better. Didn't have 12 blocks. That's okay. They didn't need him to. De'Aaron Fox couldn't hit anything in Game 1. He was much better tonight, just up and down the floor. And then, for the Wolves, it was a disaster. Hakeem, you said it. It was over at the half, right? Just 35 points at the half for the Wolves. That was their lowest scoring half all season, playoffs and regular season combined. Ant's out there for 24 minutes. I guess that's a small silver lining because they didn't have to play him any more than that. And then, unfortunately for them, Ayo Dosunmu comes back. He didn't play in Game 1. In Game 2, he's out there for 10 minutes. He had a calf injury in Game 1. Well, tonight he leaves in the second half with a heel injury, so that's not great for the Wolves. Here's how bad it was for the Wolves tonight. All those other things that I said, Joe Ingles played. When Joe Ingles plays, either something went really right or really wrong. Nothing went right for the Wolves tonight.
Avery, when are they bringing you in to go over some film? You know, we did a demo in the desert at one point a couple years ago. I mean, when are they going to bring you out and like have you do a couple demos, maybe some film breakdown as well?
We'll see what happens on the road after games 3 and 4 if they want to bring me in. Miss Cassandra, I don't know if she wants me to come out of retirement quite yet. It's got to be a special situation, okay?
All right, well, for now, you're working here with us. Spurs haven't lost back-to-back games since January, winning 10 straight following a loss. Avery, you know how critical it is to be able to bounce back in a playoff series. As a player, helped San Antonio win the NBA title in 1999. What is it about this group of Spurs and their ability to respond?
We were talking about it earlier. The thing is, they're young, right? But they're special. They're versatile. You got to have that versatility. Defensively, they have guys that you can run different coverages with. You can switch, you can trap, you can hedge, you can push it down to the baseline. You know, you can play single coverage on the post. You can double team from the baseline. You can bring the second defender from the top of the key. You know, in transition, you know, if there's a 4-on-3, they know how to scramble to get out of those situations until you can bring, you know, the positive player back into it. The other big thing with this team is high basketball IQ. I've coached a lot of different teams. You can come out of a timeout with a play maybe that you haven't shown all year. You can draw up that play and they'll execute it at a high level. So I love all the different variables of this Spurs team.
Yeah, I mean, they are young, and so maybe it is a little bit of they don't know what they don't know, right? Because they hadn't played in the postseason since this team, the organization, hadn't played in the postseason since 2019, and they just won their first round series, which was the first time they've won a series since 2017. So it's like, you know, roll the ball out, see what happens. But yeah, the other thing is the talent, right? Exactly what Avery said. They're so good at both ends of the floor, and of course, it makes it a lot easier when you have a player of Victor Wembanyama's caliber, but they were top 5 in both offense and defense this year. So they have so many different ways that they can beat you. We talk about Oklahoma City and the different ways that they can mix and match and the different looks that they can throw at you. The Spurs aren't quite as deep as Oklahoma City, but they're really good, right? And they're young and they're talented, and, you know, the guard play, they've got some nice shooters. They've got fantastic wing defenders. And then, of course, Victor Wembanyama ties it all together. So it doesn't surprise me that they haven't lost back-to-back games since January because they're that good.
Well, and something to consider, all 5 of the Spurs wins this postseason have come by at least 10 points. Their 2 losses, though, have been by 3 points and then 2 points. So you certainly have to consider what they're going to play like in these close games. Yeah, they're great in a blowout when they're able to stretch the floor and get buckets and get balanced scoring, but it's in these close games as these playoffs continue that you're going to start to have question marks, Avery.
Absolutely. And one of the things I want to point out, when you look at this Spurs roster, when you look at from top to bottom, take one young man. Remember, R.C. Buford was the full-time GM of this team. And now it's changed. But Carter Bryant, this kid averaged 6 points a game in Arizona. He's been a fringe rotation player for the Spurs. They used him a little bit more tonight. He can play multiple positions. So when you have your team that can identify talent, that can plug and play, we know the usual suspects. Dylan Harper is sensational. Keldon Johnson off the bench. Harrison Barnes. But then when you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into your lineup because you know how to identify talent, that's why the Mavericks hired Masai Ujiri. This guy is one of the top 5 executives in basketball. So combine, you know, you look at Mitch Johnson, what he's doing with his staff, Wembanyama, the star player like we had with Tim Duncan, and then you had the deep roster of role players or superior role players like the Avery Johnsons, the Mario Elliots, the Sean Elliots. I think this team is lining up the same way.
Series moves to Minnesota for Game 3 beginning on Friday, John. Who are you calling on to step up for the Timberwolves? Because this was a lackluster effort from really start to finish for them.
Yeah, it's a little dicey, right? Because the natural answer would be Ant, but like, how is he feeling? How's that knee looking at the end of the game? He plays 24 minutes. And again, the blowout allows him to not have to play more than that. I'm sure that he would want to play more than that if the game was close, but it wasn't. So, but you saw him sitting on the bench and he's got those big wraps on his knee with the ice. I don't know if that's just precautionary. You want to keep the inflammation down or if he actually needed it. He's the natural guy. But then after that, it's Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels because you're going to need some scoring here, right? I mean, you don't know if Ayo Dosunmu is even going to be able to play. Again, just 10 minutes tonight before he gets yanked in the second half with a totally unrelated injury, which is not great. And then that bench is kind of thin because, Ayo you would expect to step up into the starting lineup if he was healthy, but he's not. So they had to put Mike Conley forward. So Ant to the side, it's got to be Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels. Now, good news is in this postseason, we've seen both of those guys step forward and have big games in big moments for this team. But I just think like with the injuries, with the talent that they're facing and with the Spurs being healthy and being able to throw all those different looks at you, it's a lot. The Wolves have been great at home, but they're going to need everybody to step forward.
Yeah, and I think this is a situation. Anthony Edwards needs to start game 3 at home. He didn't play much. I agree with my buddy John Gonzalez. He needs to play 38 minutes. Insert him into the lineup. I would bring Mike Conley to the bench, even though you don't have a traditional point guard lineup. I would play through point forward with Julius Randle because Terrence Shannon Jr., this kid, I covered him when he was at Texas Tech and Illinois. This kid is explosive. We saw it in game 1. Mike Conley is not really a threat offensively. Consistently, when he's on the floor at this stage of his career, I would go big. You need to go big against the Spurs. Insert Anthony Edwards, bring Mike Conley off the bench, point forward through Julius Randle, and see what happens.
Spurs tied up at 1 game apiece with a historic game 2 here. Their most points in a playoff game since 1983 as they win at 133-95, winning by 38 points. The series moves to Minnesota on Friday. Avery Johnson, John Gonzalez here with us on CBS Sports HQ. Men, thank you. And here's a look at the rest of the series schedule. Consider that San Antonio 2-0 with a plus 16.5 points per game differential on the road this postseason. And all of their wins this postseason have come by at least 10 points. They'll look to win by double digits when the series moves to Minnesota on Friday, 9:30 Eastern tip-off. We'll have full highlights